Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Stop, Talk, and Roll. Woo! It's been a little bit, but we're joined by Dungeon Master Daniel Kim once again.
Hello.
And we have a new guest with us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm Becca. This is what my face looks like.
Woo!
I play Fen on Stop, Drop, and Roll.
We love them. We love them both.
Yeah. Very excited to have Beck here with us today.
To have Beck here back with us today.
Yes, yes. Should we just jump right into it? I mean,
yeah, sure, dude.
Let's. Why don't we start with the recaps that we had talked about?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Dungeon Master, please correct me if I say anything that is just completely poo-poo caca wrong.
You're good, homie.
But the Grim Troop successfully sealed up one of the demon portals that was allowing demons access into the Feywild with the help of one of their remnants of... What's it called?
Desolation.
I'm going to say it wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you. Remnants of Desolation. And upon returning to Sanctuary and informing those in power that they had successfully completed their mission, they met a ranger of Corellin by the name of Trinivir Smiler, who had unfortunately lost a good chunk of his squad, didn't know if they were alive or dead. And they were tasked with helping Trinivir find the squad and hopefully seal away the other portal that they had gone to try and get rid of. Making their way to that portal, unfortunately, they did find Trinivir's dogs. Not in a great,
it's rough, buddy.
Not in a great state though.
It's rough.
Yeah, a little rough. I'm not gonna lie. However, on the bright side of things, they did manage to find Sprigrin, the Dryad, member of the squad, before sending him back home to rest up in Sanctuary and hopefully heading on toward the portal not before having a very interesting conversation with Trinivir.
Yeah. I'm loving that your like memory of the last session is like impeccable because you were there. And then there's nothing before that.
Yep, absolutely.
It's so
I'm
good.
giving a recap of what I know.
It's hilarious. Oh man, there's some big stuff since the last time that we were on the show, since we did this. I mean, you know, like freaking, once you guys closed the portal, Fen met their dad. Interesting fellow. You guys watched a theater show because we can't watch theater in real life anymore. Yes. And then we had a one-shot game with Gavin for like 3 sessions that still isn't done, but was a lot of fun. So all that
Yes.
and more on Stop, Talk and Roll.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Stop, Talk and Roll, not
Talk and Roll.
Yeah, but I mean, I had a blast guesting.
Hell yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next session or two, finishing up this little arc with Trinivir Smiler, having a lot of fun with this character.
Dude.
And the story that you've crafted so far with this. Excited to see where it goes long after the guesting is done.
Yeah, man. It's good to have you.
Yeah. Hell yeah. But so, Becca, I have a couple of questions for you as well, seeing as this is your first time on the show.
Yeah.
Talk to me and our viewers a little bit about Fen. How you sort of, what inspired their creation? What inspired like who they are at their core? We were asking a little bit last time to the others about how much of yourself do you see in Fen? How different are they from you?
Yeah, great questions. It was funny. So when I found out that I was going to join the game, it was pretty quick that I was jumping in, and I knew that they had been going for a long time. So I definitely asked, like, okay, what classes are already being played? And because I wanted to bring something a little bit different. And I had never played a magic user before, so Sorcerer was interesting to jump into at such a high level, very mechanically complicated, but as Daniel can attest, it was a learning curve that
You did great.
Involved some friendly fire.
You're doing great.
Oh yeah, that meta magic is a lot on top of all the spells.
Yeah.
manage.
It's mostly the
lots of balance.
fireballs
And
and
then-
the AoEs and the thunder waves.
Listen.
You know, there is a meta magic option called safe spell. Just throwing that out there.
Well, it's really
No need to
interesting.
condescend
After I
to
already made a
them.
reversible
No need
decision.
to condescend to them. Jesus
Gonna roll
Christ,
for
Jared.
psychic damage on
Yeah,
that
just
one.
Jesus.
1d4 psychic damage. There we go.
Oof.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then in terms of role playing, I had played Dungeons and Dragons a couple of times before, and I tended towards more like flamboyant characters, people who were really headstrong and like quickly making decisions, like hit first, ask questions later. And so I wanted to create a character that would be a little bit more reserved, someone who would maybe play it a little bit safer. And I sort of had the backstory for Fen before I had a lot of other details about them, like I didn't know what race I wanted to play or class, like I said. And then the creation of the character was sort of like a dual effort between Daniel and I. We just like had a call one day, and I was like, "This is sort of yeah." You don't. I do remember this. I was so excited. Yeah, I called Daniel and I was like, "Yeah, so I have this idea for a character. I think I want to play a shadow sorcerer, and I think that the source of their magic stems from a traumatic event that I think killed their mom. I think they were raised by a single mom." And then Daniel really helped me sort of fit that all into the world and figure out sort of where they were from. And I don't know how I stumbled into playing an Eladrin elf, but it's been so fun. I didn't expect to be changing seasons so often with them. Like, they came in their winter state, and I think before they met up with the Grim Troop, they had been in that winter state for like probably 30 or 40 years. Wow. So the fact that they are changing so quickly now, I think is just a testament to how much this adventure and these people have like really turned their life upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's funny, Andrew called me out the other day that all of the characters that I play have intimacy issues. Because
no, I think that was Zach. I think that was Zach who did
the
that.
one shot is also cagey. Oh, was it Zach?
Yeah.
Sorry, Zach. Sorry, Andrew. Someone did, and I was like, ooh. But it's been really kind of beautiful to watch Fen like open up and blossom through the course of the campaign with the introduction of some of the other elements and characters. And I think that I am similar to Fen in some ways and dissimilar in others. Like, their sense of humor, I think, is aligned with mine sort of naturally because, you know, I'm the one making the jokes. But it's interesting. I was talking to Daniel about this before, but when we had started playing, Fen was using she, they pronouns, and then a little bit right before we started streaming, I had been thinking about it and realized, no, I think they, them feels more right for them, and so we transitioned into that. And it was actually through playing this campaign that I figured out that I like they, them pronouns for myself as well, and now I use she, they pronouns. But it was hearing everybody use those pronouns like towards me and to me felt so good that I was like, oh my gosh, this is totally right. And now that I'm thinking back, I'm like, interesting that I was like, I think this character's gonna have she, they pronouns. Like, I don't really know why, but it feels right. And now I'm like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
When Becca told me about that, because they told me about that, like, I don't know, what, like maybe 2 weeks ago when we were playing or whatever, maybe a week ago. We were just kind of hanging out, and they told me that. Like, I don't know, it was super moving. I was like, I never thought that D&D could do that. So it was really cool. I was like, oh, yeah, I hope my friend be more of themselves, and that's really awesome. Yeah. I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I mean, it's I think that's super interesting too, just to see the sort of growth with the character and yourself growing together, even though, you know, it's very different things that you were both going through. We can see that growth, I think, which is super cool that that's happening. And sort of with that in mind, so I do want to ask specifically about Fenn's father in a second here, but other than that, was there like a sort of like huge moment for Fen that either like really rocked their world or sort of a pivot for them? Is there anything that you can sort of pin down like that through the campaign so far?
Yeah, the one that is immediately coming to mind was the introduction of Snow as a character who has sort of been on the side recently in our couple of episodes. She hasn't been coming along with us, but when I first joined, I think Fen was feeling this way definitely, and me a little bit too. I was feeling like not really sure where I fit into the group, and that first arc way back when we were drifting through the astral sea. I think this was before we even started streaming. It got to a point where we had escaped the astral sea, we were back in the material plane, and I had been expressing maybe to Daniel, to Gavin, that I was like, you know, after this next little thing is over, I don't know if Fen would really stay with these people. Like, I don't really feel like they have a reason to be here. And then all of a sudden, here comes like this charming, funny, sweet little elfin orphan girl I was like, it felt targeted towards me when Daniel brought her in, but it was really fun to see how quickly Fen latched onto Snow, and I think that sort of started to open them up and soften them up and help them connect to the other people in the campaign, in the party as well. And Snow being chosen, there was a whole thing where we had gone into Dracula's castle, right? Dracula, oh my gosh, it's been a minute.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, and the like main vampire that was in there marked Snow and was like, I want her, and was trying to pull her in, and that was the event that pissed Fen off enough to put them into their summer state, and that was like the first sort of like seasonal shift. And then I was like, oh, okay, I love this little girl. And now it's turned into this whole arc of Fen sort of figuring out what this like pseudo parenthood thing is like, and feeling responsible for this person and growing to love everybody. And yeah.
That's great. Thank you. That's a lovely answer.
I mean, even last session, like,
and again, yes.
Snow was saying like that they're like sisters, so that was pretty dope.
I know, but they're mad at Snow's mad at.
Oh, well, we're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk. Only good vibes here, not that rough part. Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Too bad she's dead. All right. Anyways, continue.
Hello. I was going to say, I do see that Daniel already put this in chat, but yes, all of you in chat, feel free. If you have any questions, drop those in there. We are reading, we are looking at it. So if you see anything there, you can also feel free to tweet at Stop, Drop, and Roll as well if you have any questions there. But feel free, please ask some questions in the chat. Becca, that was a great little leeway into the more recent sessions that we've seen on stream with meeting your father. So expectations that Fen had going in to sort of, did they know at all that running into their father would be a possibility now that they were in the Feywild? Were they actively seeking him out? Anything at all like that?
Yeah, no. The short answer is no.
Yeah.
I don't think that Fen has thought about their dad in years, because he was never really a part of the picture. Like, they had never even known him, and when they emigrated out of the Feywild with their mom, for the short period of time that their mom was still alive, I don't think that she talked about Fen's dad much, and so when Fen found out that he was alive, it was like, whoa. I mean, I guess I should meet this person, but to say that their expectations were low is an understatement, and still somehow it managed to be disappointing. So, but like,
I did my job.
I think if you,
I did my job.
Yeah, you could probably tell going in, Fen was pretty like coming in with fists up, ready to fight.
I think you like, didn't you kick open the door or something? He was like really aggressive.
Yeah, I kicked the door down.
Yeah, I think so. And he's like dressing, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely a thought in my head that was like, I can see, if this goes bad enough, I can see Fen trying to kill this man. We'll see what happens.
Wow.
Yeah, some anger that Yeah, some anger that I don't think I knew was under there. Interesting.
Crazy. So how's your relationship with your father? Anyways,
Well, like I mentioned, I'm home visiting family. I'm in my childhood home, so
amazing.
It's good enough that I'm
fights
here.
breaking out?
That's great.
Not fist fights.
man.
Not throwing
that's
any
good, that's
fireballs yet. But I've only been here for a couple days, so
Watch it, Dad.
True,
don't
never
worry.
know.
Watch
We'll
it.
see.
I'm actually stoked because I've been really curious about all this, like just because this has kind of been loosely like Fen's arc, and so for me, I've been like throwing all these things, and I've been like, oh, what does she think? Like, what was she thinking in that moment? I was really stoked actually to hear all this stuff. I was really excited. I think I have a specific question personally. I have a question about like when you were like in the room with your dad, with Lord Monomare, like what was like going through Fen's head in the middle and in the end? Because like I understood that you came in like really combative, but like in the middle it was like there was this, it just got really emotional, and then towards the end there was that like the kind of like it seemed like Fen was almost like had never thought about their dad before, and then all of a sudden there was this like opportunity, and I don't know, what was in your head? It's really curious.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't think that Fen really did think about their dad. I had never really thought about Fen's dad before, and so I think like they came in really hot, ready to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you abandon me? Blah, blah, blah. And then realizing really quickly, oh my god, this man has no idea who I am and doesn't even remember who my mother is. Like, God. Which actually made a lot of sense because I had always wondered a little bit, like, what role did he play when all of this shit was going down with their mom when she was, I don't know, exiled, or if she left intentionally, but basically, like, everybody in the Feywild hates their mom and thinks that they're this terrible person, and Fen's trying to, like, redeem their family name, and so I had always wondered, like, did he stand up for her? Did he have anything to do with it? And it turns out, no. It was just, like, they knew each other very briefly, and he moved on with his life, and so there was some sadness there and feeling like, oh, all of this anger that I've been holding on to, it's only hurting me, and like this man doesn't care about me at all. And so that is kind of like, what do you do with that, you know? And then realizing, oh yeah, I remember being really like embarrassed at one point, like, what am I doing here? This was stupid. I shouldn't have come. And then feeling like almost like a childish amount of shame of like, you don't know who I am. And he at one point was like, you know, I helped bring you into the world, but I'm not your father. And it's like, I know that. I don't need you to tell me that. And then I did get that really nice little nugget of information about the name of this man who, this hasn't really come out in the campaign at all, has it? I don't know if anybody even really knows about this. Or if I should talk about it now.
I think this is only something you and I know. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I got a really important piece of information from it. And I think it was a good contrast to the relationships that Fen has been developing with the rest of the Grimm Troop, and realizing that family is something that you make for yourself and doesn't always have to be about like bloodline and blood connection. So
absolutely, yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Wow. And you kind of already touched on it as well earlier with when you were talking about Snow and how that really affected Fen meeting. So telling Snow to stay behind in order to protect them, was that something that well, I mean, very much at first you really wanted Snow to come with the Grim Troop. Was that sort of to give them an opportunity to prove themselves, like more so, or was that just?
Oh. I think. Oh.
Go ahead.
Delay. We love a lag.
We love a little bit of delay. We work with it. It's there.
Yeah. I think the intention in having that conversation, it sort of went back a couple of sessions, which maybe happened before we were running Gavin's one shot, where Fen was starting to feel really bad about so much, because this has become sort of like a theme for the group. Whenever they're about to go into a really dangerous combat, they're like, oh, let's make up this job that's like not really important, but we're going to tell Snow it's super important and it's going to make sure that she's like out of harm's way. And it was getting to a point where I felt like, well, why do we need to lie to her and baby her? Like, if we're trying to get her to not, if we don't want her to get hurt, like, we should do her the courtesy of telling her that, because she's like, yes, she's young, she's like a young teenager, but also she's been through some shit. Like, she's been through Dracula's castle, she's traveling to other planes, she's fought demons herself, and like, I think that she should be able to make decisions about whether or not she wants to try to like fight a battle that's maybe bigger than she can handle. But then, and I just wanted there to be honesty. I didn't want to feel like I was tricking her or like she was a baby, because I want her to start feeling more like empowered. And also I missed having her with us, so I was like, maybe you can come with us. And then Joko really was like, this is a terrible idea. And the thing he said about like, are you gonna take responsibility for her death? And I was like, no, I'm not. Never mind. And then I was like, well, shit, I just told her that she should come, and now she's mad at me, and I never asked to care about someone anyway, so this is stupid.
I'm interested to see where it goes. It was a very lovely moment to be a sort of third-party observer while still also thinking about everything that had been coming before and now leading up to this moment. It was really very lovely to watch as sort of like pulled in so many different directions as you were. You could really see the thought process and the sort of emotional toll it was taking on Fen to really weigh their options and the impact that either outcome could have. But it was just a moment that stuck with me for sure after that.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm remembering, I think this was before we started, but there was one really like intimate moment between Fen and Snow way back when we were still in Dracula's castle. Basically, we were in combat and Snow fell unconscious, and I didn't like do anything to try to wake her up, because I, as Becca, didn't know that you could just like go make a medicine check to try to keep somebody from being unconscious. And then after the session, I was like, God, I felt so like helpless. I didn't know what to do. And I like thought that she was gonna die. And Gavin was like, you know, you can just like go make a medicine check and wake her up. I was like, what? And then that sort of carried over into the next session. There was this really nice moment where Fen was like, hey, I didn't know what to do. I felt like an idiot. I didn't realize that I could just wake you up, and I didn't protect you, and I should have. And I think that Fen asked Snow, they were like, you know, if you don't want to do this, we don't have to be with these people. Like, we can go find adventure other places, and there's like, we could live a whole life and we could stay alive. We don't have to keep hanging out with these people where we almost die every day. But Snow wanted to stay, and so Fen stayed, and I'm glad that they did. But I think that was another turning point where it was like, oh shit, I really do love this person.
Yeah, and what is it, do you think, about Snow that just draws Fen to
other than
take
her
this role as
incredible good looks and charismatic voice and
oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, she's so cute. She's so, like, Daniel, you do such a good job. She is so charming.
What you mean? What you mean
but
I'm cute?
I think... What you mean I'm cute?
What you mean I'm cute?
Girl. Oh
I'm
my
a little
God.
girl.
I love her so much. I think that Fen sees a lot of themselves in her, of course, because she grew up without parents, having to fend for herself and make her own way in the world. But I think also she has these qualities that I think Fen wishes that they had more of. Like, she's so optimistic and she sees the world in such a beautiful way, and she's so determined, and I think Fen is really drawn to that, and the way that Snow trusts Fen so much too, I think means a lot to them, because I think in the 50-year period after their mom died, before they met the rest of the Grimm Troop, they did not make personal connections with people. Like, I think their philosophy is more like, if I don't let it get close to me, it can't hurt me, basically. But that has been broken open by everybody in this group.
Which is really sweet to see, by the way. It's like, I don't know. I am a sucker for stories of, like, cold people becoming warm and fuzzy and soft. So it's to watch, like, Joko, like, the hardest clam in the world, like, slowly open up, and, like, Fen, this ice cold queen, like, slowly defrost, is like, it makes my heart grow warm. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I don't know if either of them can really be described as warm and fuzzy quite yet, but they're on the path.
Not quite, but they're getting there. I mean, I don't know. I think what's fun to me is that, like, most of my interactions with, like, the rest of the cast as an NPC is, like, neutral or, like, plainly, like, antagonistic. You know what I mean? Like, I'm either playing Grost, who is manipulating the fuck out of Poe, or I'm playing Joko's son, who is, like, not talking to his dad. I'm playing whatever, right? And so, like, my interactions with you, Becca, are, like, some of the only ones where I can be, like, positive and be like, hey, I'm a friend. Yeah. And so it's actually, I don't know, I find a lot of joy being Snow. And also Solaris, shout out to the homie. But yeah, it's been fun to be nice to you guys as an NPC, which is crazy.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I mean, my experience coming in as Smiler, there was almost like the sort of immediate warmth that Smiler felt from Fen, and I don't know if that was something that Fen was attempting to create some sort of connection with Smiler or not, but out of the Grimm Troop so far that he's had contact with, he definitely feels the most comfortable in having conversations with Fen. Tends to go to them first before going further down to the rest of the group.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I feel like part of that is probably Becca too, wanting to, like, engage with you and make you feel welcome into the group, but also
thank you.
I think that Fen, specifically in this arc in the Feywild, has been really transformative for them. And when we first were meeting you, it was coming off of this, like, insane victory and doing really well, and
this incredible high point.
Yeah, and Fen feeling like they finally belong here, because when I wasn't sure what to expect when we got to the Feywild, because all that I knew was when we met Solaris and his rangers in the forest, they recognized my name, and I think Emran was like, "Are you a princess?" And I was like, "I don't know," and so I sort of expected to be kind of, like, famous coming in, and when we came in and everyone was like, oh, it's you. I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, I guess.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think Fen already has felt very liminal in their lives. Like they don't fit in anywhere really. Like they have this shop in Busan, but like they don't really make friends. And so coming back to their homeland, which they never expected to do in their lifetime, to be welcomed so coldly, or greeted so coldly rather, and to be like, oh, I guess I don't belong here. Oh, and the other thing that's cool that Daniel pointed out to me when I was creating this character is Ben is a shadow sorcerer, and the magic that they use comes from the Shadowfell.
Oh.
Right? Which is like the opposite of the Feywild.
They're both mirror planes, yeah.
Which they may not know much about. They know a little bit about it, actually. They did research and stuff. But
I don't think that...
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
I don't think that they super know, but basically, like, the only thing that they know about their magic is that it destroys things and kills things, and so it's been something that they have spent a lot of their life avoiding and, like, not utilizing, and so to come into the Feywild, this, like, beautiful, magical place that's all about life and creation, and to be welcomed this way, and then to also feel like, well, yeah, my magic feels, like, antithetical to this place, of course I don't belong. But coming off of this last arc, when they were able to tap into the magic with Solaris and use it, they were like, cool, maybe I do belong here. So I feel like some of that energy was coming towards Smiler, of being like, hey, come on, like, we got this. It's so easy to close demon portals. No big deal.
I think that's what really drew him to immediately want to team up with the Grim Troop as a whole was, in particular, you succeeded where him and his entire squad couldn't. So that was something that I think immediately drew him in, wanting to get to know you all and wanting to sort of bring you along with him to get his found family back, was the fact that you had triumphed. You had beat back the demon scourge. And I think that was sort of inspiring and hopeful for him, which he hadn't felt for the past few months, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Do you mind if I jump in here real quick? That kind of feeling that you're talking about, that like liminal feeling of like not belonging, and specifically going back to your homeland and then being welcomed coldly, or like not recognizing it as your homeland, that actually comes from personal experience. So like it's something that like I feel like all of us can relate to some extent, but it's actually pretty it's taken from my experience when I went to Korea for the first time that I remember. And then when I went there and I distinctly like got into the city and I was like, this isn't at all what the stories that my like parents told me about or my grandparents told me about of this place were. This doesn't feel like the home that I had imagined in my head. And like it was different. It wasn't like bad. It was just different and like alien to like what I had conceived as this like, oh, ultimate home, this place of belonging, that kind of thing. And so I kind of snuck that in there as a like a little thing. And it also happened to really like nicely kind of coincide with the themes of like found family and stuff. So snuck it in there.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's really cool that you have like woven it into the story. And yeah, it's a really it can be a really painful experience to have an idea in your head and feel like this is where I'm supposed to belong, and then to not feel how you expected. It's like almost an emptiness when you expected there to be something there.
Yeah. It's like that kind of like I think of like a Ronin or like a Western cowboy, you know, the wanderer who like comes into a town and then like just leaves. Like that is kind of that like restless wandering, you know. It's like you're looking for a home, but that doesn't really exist. So but with that said, I'm actually really glad that Fen is finding home in, you know, the troop and with Snow and maybe with Solaris and, you know, also with like in Sanctuary a little bit too. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you don't mind my asking.
Yeah.
What is Fen thinking about their possible future? And as much as you want to talk about and sort of where their headspace is at in terms of now that they've like come to realize what the Feywild is, maybe gotten a little bit more of where they come from, does that change their headspace at all about possibly like where they see their life going after this? And again, as much as you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really, I think there have been a few moments in the last like arc and a half or so that we've had time to actually like spend a week in a place, but really before that, from the moment that I joined the campaign until then, it was pretty much one thing into the next, like nonstop. I think there was one time that we went from like we went through 3 combats before we even got a long rest, and like June math.
I think 4 or 5.
More?
4 or 5 actually. Before you guys got a long rest. I think you guys
It was
had 5.
nuts.
Yeah, it was
and
nuts. I was pushing you guys.
And that was back when we were. Yeah, it was cool though. It felt like dangerous, which I love. And that was back when we were in the capital city and fighting sort of the fight of, I guess, one of the bigger arcs of the campaign before I even joined. And so knowing that we have that to go back to now, or once we finish up this, like there's a bigger fight at hand that now I think there's no question in Fen's mind about whether or not they're going to go with the Grim Troop, because at this point they've carried Fen through this like hugely transformative chapter in their life, and so they're like, well, you helped me with this, so I'm with you. So I think Fen is more concerned about just trying to survive through the end of that before they have any ideas about future. Although I will say that the moment that we got to go and watch the burial process, where all of the fallen soldiers in that first like demon invasion, when we got to the Feywilds, like turning back into trees and growing back into the Feywild, I think there were some twinges of, this is where I want to meet my final rest. And also maybe I think Fen's kind of interested in bringing their mom back here, but I don't know. Beyond that, I think they're just trying to get through the day and not die.
You and all the rest of us too, sister. We get that.
I know.
Well, Becca, do you have any questions for Daniel about anything of the campaign? Any interesting burning things you're like, what were you thinking when you did this? Or anything else?
Oh man, so many things.
No.
I guess I'm curious because I've never DM'd before. I've thought about it, but it just seems like so much work. Like, do you? I like to show up. How much time do you think, like, on average, do you spend in a week, like, preparing for a session? And does it vary? Like, are there some times that you come in and you're like, I'm flying by the seat of my pants?
Every week, I spend all week, every day, 8 hours a day, crafting this perfect little world. No.
I would believe you.
No.
I would absolutely believe you.
No. I mean, I guess if I'm like pulling back the curtain and going, don't look behind here. There's a lot of times I'm flying by the seat of my pants. But there's a pretty good amount of preparation I do. I feel like when I do, if there's like a particularly big moment, like when we did the theater, right? Like your dad and then the theater and then everything post the demon thing. That took me a pretty good chunk of time. The full theater thing itself took me about 3 hours. I was like listening to music and like writing in tandem with the music to like time it and then rehearsing it. So that one took like 3 hours for like that moment.
I knew that you did that.
But like in general, I usually don't map things out that specifically because I love having things be flexible, and like if you guys are like, I want to do this crazy thing, I'm like, yeah, let's do the crazy thing, you know. If Zach is like, I want to befriend the spider and the T-Rex, I'll be like, okay, you know, and so I'll like go in those directions with you all. So generally, I think like when I do prep weeks, it's like every 2 or 3 weeks or so, I have one like day or two that I spend like just brainstorming and doing all this stuff, and writing everything, and it ends up being like enough content for like 2 to 3 weeks of sessions. I just have this like, it just keeps like, it goes. So I'd say on average, it takes me around like 3 to 6 hours per session of prep time. Yeah, I've done a lot of the legwork myself to make things easy for myself in past sessions. So things are kind of generally a little bit easier now. But on the max end, I probably don't spend more than 8 hours. But I wish you guys could be with me, like, in my car, because there's so many times I'm, like, driving to LA, and then I'll, like, be like, idea, and then I, like, turn on, like, my voice memos. I'm like, okay, so I have a brainstorm idea about my next thing. So that always happens. I have, like, 85,000 different voice memos
I feel that very hard.
Little ideas, and some of them, like, don't even make it to the game, but they're just, like, ideas that I have in the car. So, yeah. Yeah, so about 8 hours on max, and 3 to 8.
That's great. I know Daniel hates it when I compliment him, so I'll make it quick, but I feel like we are so spoiled. Like, you are such a good dungeon master. Yep. Like, I would believe you if you told me that you spent, like, a full work week preparing for these campaigns, because you...
That's crazy.
It just seems like you have it so together, and... I know, but if you... Like, I would believe you. You're that good. It's great.
Oh, thank you.
And then I guess another question. Oh, no, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, I was going to say that, like, you guys are a little too generous to me. Like, you guys are amazing players. So, like, that, I'm very serious when I say that. Like, you know, that is part of the thing, is that you guys are so willing to, like, create the world with me, and are so available and so good at, like, making space for each other, and, you know, letting each other have the spotlight, and being very, very selfless actors. Like, it's, like, you guys are really fucking good players, so give yourselves some credit. But anyways.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that's nice.
It's true.
I was gonna ask, when you, like, way back at the beginning of this whole campaign, whatever, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Stop that! Nope.
Okay, time is a flat circle, but
it's in a year and 3/4. I think.
What?
Ugh, crazy.
Why did I say 3 years? I'm senile.
Time. It's a construct. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, really. I mean, if this year has taught us anything.
Yeah.
True.
But what were some of your inspirations when you were building out the world?
Thank you for this question. Jared asked me this question last time and didn't let me answer it because he made Gavin and all the rest of them answer it. So I just had to sit through as they answered it, and then he went, all right, moving on. So this is a great question. If you couldn't tell, you're welcome for the roast, Jared. If you couldn't tell, actually, if you look at the continent shape and the name of it, it's actually pretty heavily based on Korea. It's based on it's a peninsula, first of all. So it's like connected to a large landmass, and the rest of it is basically like an island, which is why its history is like so isolated, because it's on a peninsula. Pretty hard to invade, pretty hard to do stuff on it. And I borrowed from, I think there's probably like 4 or 5 main inspirations, with like just millions of other small inspirations from day to day. But generally, I've pulled from Chinese and Korean history and ancient mythology. I've pulled from Japanese mythology. I've pulled from like fantasy tropes, Lord of the Rings and Name of the Wind and all those other things. But more leaning towards more mature fantasy, I think. I really like, you guys can kind of tell, all my I don't really like to make important NPCs that aren't like 3-dimensional. Some of them are there for fun. Like there's a cat who's a bartender because like why not? It's a fucking fantasy game. But like there's I love them too. But like a lot of the characters are very three-dimensional, right? Like your dad, Lord Monomere, is, you know, he's kind of a sleazebag, but he's not an evil guy, right? He's just like a bad father and an absent one. But he's a really fucking good archfey and a great theater maker, right? There's place and room for those kind of characters, and I like making those kind of stories a la Game of Thrones, Name of the Wind, stuff like that, where people aren't just paragons and evil. So those are kind of main inspirations, and then I do pull from fables and folktales and myths all the time because I love those growing up, and I love stories and the way that people tell them. So like, for example, like that huge dragon thing that you guys saw, right? When the fish turns into a dragon, that's like a Chinese ancient mythology. The idea of like a fish that's a carp that swims up a waterfall will become a dragon. So that's one. Baba Yaga very clearly is based on all of those Russian myths and fables. And then even before then, actually, Sejong, who is that emperor that you guys met that everyone else was freaking about, and you're like, I don't know who that is. The kid who was like making the speech, right, and like made the new empire or whatever, he's actually based on a real world historical figure, Sejong Taewang, who was a really, really amazing king in Korea. He was kind of like this, he was kind of like a Michelangelo mixed with like a Da Vinci, and also he was the king. So kind of like an Alexander the Great. He was a really, really important figure for the culture. So so I based him off that. So there's a lot of different mythos and pieces. Airware. Yeah. Also Critical Role, obviously, but like, you know, who isn't these days, you know? So yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of my things.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question for Jared, for our host. Because you're a fucking character in our game now, which is crazy, dude. Which is insane.
I am.
Which is awesome, and I'm glad to have you on the show. But I was
Me
like,
too,
I had a couple thoughts, but I was really excited because I feel like, you know, you as a forever DM, one, what is it like to be in the pilot seat of a character again? Because you don't often get to be in the pilot seat of a character. What is it like? How you doing?
Yeah, I only have one other game that so of the 3 games that I play pretty regularly, there's only one that I'm a player in. So it's fun to sort of step back into a character and put all of my creative focus on just like one mindset rather than thinking of like 500 characters and the campaign and where all the players are going and everything. So it was fun to sort of put the focus on creating the same complexity for one person rather than sort of spreading that out. And really just get to focus on that.
Cool.
I also just, you know, I love being a DM. I personally, I think, enjoy that a little bit more than I enjoy being a player.
Get out of my game. Leave.
No, but I mean, the Smiler and my other character that I'm playing right now, Issa, could not be more different. Smiler is very, you know, he's middle-aged Eladrin who has seen constant war and is trying to maintain an optimistic outlook, but is very quickly losing that. Whereas, you know, Issa is naive, very much starting out on her journey, and doesn't want to get involved in like the big overarching thing of what's going on. Really just wants to sort of focus on herself, and getting to sort of explore that, I think, is very fun. And with Smiler in particular, with the story, having to jump right into being like, all your friends are either captured or dead, and your dogs are all morphed up into one horrible abomination. I was like, cool, with a nickname like Smiler. I wonder how we got that. But
yeah, how did he get that nickname, bud?
It's been a lot of fun.
That's rad. That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of dogs, how was that? Because I remember I saw your brain. I saw your brain working and going like, all right, turn one, uncap alchemist flask. throw it. Turn 2, fire. You know, that was Jared's brain.
Just in case.
Just in case. And then I threw you the, you see your dog ear like drooping.
I had it out in case.
Okay.
I had it out in case it did go wrong. And then I did the face step so I could get out of the way. So I separated myself from the other strangers so the dogs could focus on me. If there was anything left in there, then I saw that there was. And I only had lesser restoration because I'm not much of a magic user. Fighter first, ranger second. Yeah. So I only had lesser restoration, so I was like, shit, I don't know if that'll work. And then with protection, with good and evil, that was like my last ditch effort to see if that could do anything, if maybe it was a demonic possession rather than just some horrible thing that was done to the dogs. But unfortunately, we saw how it turned out. But also, Smiler has no hard feelings, definitely understood what needed to be done. More just angry at the situation, not angry at what had to happen.
Yeah, I was grateful for that because I was like, I don't know, this guy could be pissed at me, but
yeah, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
You created like the most patient person in the world. I feel like my players and myself as a human being could learn from Smiler, because your dogs just died, and then you're like, it's cool. I understand that it needed to happen. And then you're like, you know, I have this crazy idea. Let's go to hell. Let's see how that goes. And everyone starts fucking bagging you and like verbally assaulting you.
Flying off the handle.
And then you're like, you know what? I understand that we have... How, dude? What is going through Smiler's brain? How is he like, at the end of that, he's like, I understand that we have differing opinions, but like, that's totally okay. He's so fucking chill, dude.
The thing about Smiler, and I like to think that this is where he gets the nickname from, is he approaches everything with the idea that, especially living in the Feywild and sort of having that be a part of who he is in his blood, is that we're all interconnected. And while there are some poor decisions made in the heat of the moment, he gives people the benefit of the doubt in hoping that there was no actual malcontent. And I think that's why he dislikes the demons so much. Yeah. I think the demons to him embody the exact opposite, where they have this chaotic nature of just wanting to destroy everything. There's nothing there of creation. But I mean, so yeah, with Joko, with the sort of differing viewpoints there, it's like, yeah, it sounds fucking crazy when you sort of take it out of context. Like, I want to go to hell and talk to devils and learn from them. That sounds insane when you really just completely remove it from context. And even in context, it still is a very far-fetched idea. But this is a man who is at the very end of his rope, who has been fighting the embodiment of chaos and evil for so long, has seen those he loves and knows and cares about die from this, that it really does feel like the last-ditch effort of like, look, these creatures may not be good by any means, but they've done a good job of fighting them way longer than we have. They have to have something that we don't, that could help us in this fight. And understandably so, he expects people to blow up at that. He expects some trepidation. He's gotten pushback from those that he does care about and love, that he's brought this up to, that I said, wait this out. Just wait, see what happens. We could just do this on our own. So it's very much so that like that's how he approaches everything, is understanding, or at least attempting to understand the human condition, or I should say the
humanoid condition.
What
humanoid condition?
I don't know. It's, I guess.
Sure.
Because there are some races that are not humanoid but still have,
the conscious condition.
So you said awakened?
Sure, I guess that's a good way to put it.
Sure.
The conscious condition.
I like that.
Awakened, yeah. Because the druidic spell awaken, where you can awaken a non
like a shrub or something
creature to
Interesting.
But sort of trying to understand that, and especially I think being a ranger of Corellon and following that faith of light and creation and magic and everything, that there is no it's so hard to put it into words because especially as Jared, it's something that, especially I struggle with too, is like finding the good in people and assuming that not everyone is out to get you. If there are bad things that happen, that's something that I've tried to live with all my life, is trying to see the good in people and giving people the benefit of the doubt. And I think I've taken that in myself and dialed that up to the extreme for Smiler.
Cool.
Which gets tiring for him too. It's not something that is very easy for him, but it's to quote Skyrim, Parthenax, what is better, to be born good or to be good through overcome your evil nature through conscious effort, is what he says. And I think that's something that I think not as extremely as saying evil nature, but sort of like, not human, but human nature of Smiler, where he's not this perfect paragon of patience and confidence and all of that. It's a very conscious decision that he's making with every time he opens his mouth. Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice, man. Also, I'm sorry for laughing in the middle. I wasn't laughing at your answer. I was laughing at the idea of like a shrub getting touched and getting awakened and then going
exactly.
Ah! I'm so much pain. I feel I was just like hearing that like in my head.
What is existence?
In like I was hearing like Ken Jeong voice like in my mind, just like a screaming shrub. So, anyways. Yeah. Sorry, exactly. That's my brain.
What does a plant think of existence and emotions now?
Anyways.
Right?
Anyways, I have one for Becca. Becca, why the fuck are we siblings in everything? Or like we have like such sibling energy in like so many things. Why does this happen? Like there's Snow, there is Snow and Fen. There is in Animal Crossing, we made the 2 goth girlfriends. And then in our freaking one-shot game, we're now like partners in crime, like this like duo that's going. Why? Why does this happen?
I don't know. We've got to continue to flesh out our IRL relationship and figure out like what about our souls and personalities are just like peas in a pod.
Apparently it is. It's a great mystery of life. Becca and I.
It's a good one to have though.
It's a good one,
I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's good. That's the only question I had. I just noticed it and I went, that's really weird. They're also all female.
So,
Daniel, is this saying something about you? All right, continue.
No. You know, I think gender is a spectrum.
It is, absolutely. As a DM, I do have a question for you, Daniel.
Yes. As a DM, I will accept this question from you, Jared.
Thank you.
As a non-DM, I will allow the questioning to.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing.
That's the most important one. Thanks, Becca.
Exactly, it is. So, demons in the Feywild.
Yeah.
Like Becca had said previously, I mean, you have the antithesis of the Shadowfell being something else that you could also have pulled from sort of like even the Shadowkai, the elves from the Shadowfell trying to breach in. What made you sort of, and again, if you want to say it, you can. If you want to remain in mystery, but sort of what was the inspiration of the Abyss and demons coming into the Feywild as opposed to Shadow and the Shadowfell with the Shadowkai sort of breaching in?
Sure, great question. There's certain things that I can't say about this, but I'll say like kind of what's already been basically referred to in the campaign. That much I can say. So yeah, I think I made a conscious effort actually to list out a bunch of things that Critical Role has already done before the campaign started. Before even like we started streaming, I like made a list of all the places and things that Critical Role had done, and I made a determination to myself like I'm not going to do those. Or if I do something in those regions that they go to, I want to make sure that I have my own very specific take on it that is not related to theirs. Because I already pull so much from Matt as an inspiration, Matt Mercer, that I know that I don't want to tread that kind of same ground, and I want to make sure that, we are telling the story that my players want to tell, and that also that I, in collaboration with them, want to tell. So with the demons... So that all to say, with the demons, I basically didn't want to do the Shadowfell because it's kind of already been trod on, They went to the Shadowfell, they did that thing, right? You can go to them to see it. And also, I was wanting to stay away from the Raven Queen specifically because she's been done a lot, and I wanted to make sure that wasn't in the picture. So because of that, I also had been thinking of things before that I can maybe talk about a little bit. There was already a place that was getting invaded by demons.
As much as you want.
Basically, I'm not gonna say where. But it was associated with one of Andrew's old characters. Before Andrew was Joko, he was Suimi. And so that character's backstory, I had already come up with the idea of demons like wanting to invade these realms, right? Which is also naturally like what they do in the Abyss. But specifically this moment in time is because of like there is this like link between like the moral fabric of reality and like the physical repercussions that occur to it in D&D. There just are. Like there are lawful good gods that intervene in the world. There are also evil beings that want to destroy it. And so, you know, you have this unique space where like there's this group of people called the Triketra who are like undermining everything anyone like knows about like natural order as far as gods go and like all the other stuff, right? They're messing with everything. So like how does this reverberate out to other planes? What does this event, these people, their actions do on like the spiritual fabric of reality? And so everything else is going wrong. The Feywild has fucking demons in it now, which should not be happening, right? It was to illustrate that like not only is the problems in the material plane like only located to the material plane, they have consequences across a lot of the planes. Things are going wrong. And that's kind of the I'm wanting to kind of create the tension of like, ah, shit, the White Walkers are coming, you know? Feels like that. You know, that something's very, very gravely wrong and in need of correcting. Yeah.
Yeah. And talking about
also demons are cool.
Pulling from these...
I like their stat blocks. They hit
Demons
very
are
hard.
Cool. I
big, red, and angry.
I think the fiends in general, I'm very interested in, and that started with me reading the Descendants of Avernus source book, which was so fun, and we did try to run a little bit through that, and then eventually sort of with scheduling and everything ended up falling out. But that was a fun world and adventure that Wizards of the Coast had drafted that sort of really got me into looking at devils and demons in a different way. But talking about sort of the inspiration that you pulled from the Eastern Asian cultures and mythology and everything, how has that affected the way that you've crafted your pantheon? Because the great thing about D&D and 5e with the Forgotten Realms and even previous editions is that they come with pantheon that you can use if you want, but they also offer a lot of flexibility to interchange and have your own sort of ideas on things. So how much has that affected the way that you approach creating the pantheon, or even just sort of slightly changing them to fit these mythologies?
Gotcha. This is I actually went from a player-centric thing for Pantheon because my players were basically like, this is the god I want to worship. This is what I want to do. And so I ended up actually not creating my own Pantheon. I mostly took from the Forgotten Realms and then like said like, hey, if you want to add some, let me know. So in this realm, Kord the Stormlord isn't called Kord the Stormlord. He's called Thor because my player was like, hey, I want to worship Thor, right? Thor. Or you know, Joko's character. Joko wanted to worship I think has he mentioned the name on stream? I think yes, it has. It came out in a dream. I'm good. It has come out. Yeah, when he got his the tattoos on his arms, right?
I pay attention, so I knew that.
Yeah, you do. When he got the like freaking list of names on his arm.
Yep.
Yeah, Praxidiki. So Praxidiki's not in Forgotten Realms Pantheon, but I am not gonna go. You can't follow that god. You have to follow my gods. I went, yeah, sure, let's add it. So that's kind of where I am right now. But this does lead me into I'm already building campaign 2, and I do want a more specific, narrowed down pantheon for that, because I think that's kind of the story that I want to tell for that. So it might not exactly be in the same world. I'm figuring that out right now. But or maybe it's like all those gods do exist, but like the worship is limited to these gods in this region for X or Y reason. But yeah, so that's that's kind of what I've been thinking about for campaign 2, about like wanting to kind of focus in on a couple of things. But right now the Pantheon is really open. You could be like, I want to worship the flying spaghetti monster, and I'd be like, I don't know if that fits with the tone, but like we'll work it out. So I'll mostly say yes. I'll mostly say yes and to pretty much anything my players do. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, Becca, you had mentioned that you've thought about DMing, perhaps. Any specific ideas that you had like bounced around in your brain that you're willing to share, or just like taking a look at like what it takes to DM is more so what you were thinking about?
Yeah, so the time in my life when I was seriously considering DMing was sort of just out of necessity because I had friends that wanted to play and nobody wanted to DM. And I tried, it's such a terrible experience, I'll tell it very quickly. I was studying abroad my senior year of undergrad, and there were like people in my program that were like, oh, I've always wanted to try D&D, and I was like, oh sure, like let me just, like I'll DM a one shot, and I tried to run Curse of Strahd.
Oh man. Oh, the murder house?
One hell of a game
First
to
mistake.
jump into, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, first mistake. And then the second mistake was that the people that came to play, not a single one of them had ever played D&D before. And they lost interest within like half an hour of being there, and I was like, this is terrible. I'm never doing it again. But I am trying to I don't normally like to do things that I'm not immediately excellent at, which is something that I'm working on.
Wow, I feel that on such a soul level. Oh my god. I feel you.
Yeah, it's okay. We're healing our inner child. We're working through it. But yeah, no, I don't have any specific ideas. Right now I'm just so enjoying being a player, and especially having been in this campaign for a couple of months, it was really surprising coming back into Grim Troop after a couple weeks off in a different campaign, how much I felt so almost emotional to be coming back to it. And now like playing Fen feels like a comfortable pair of pants or something. Like it's just really nice. I'm having such a fun time playing, and I'm so glad that there are wonderful DMs in the world who will do so much work, and then I can just show up.
I'm gonna say, I think you'd be amazing at DMing. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say as well.
Yeah, I can tell based on your spell flavoring and just the way that you describe certain things. Like, you have a pretty good knack for it already. So, like, I could see you DMing very, very easily. Just so you know, just as an encouragement, I think you'd be rad at it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, even when you brought up how you were sort of crafting Fenn's backstory with Daniel, immediately jumping into the way that you were describing it, even just right now, talking about it, just back and forth here, was very much, yeah, I could see you doing it and doing it well and doing a good job with it. I think it's just a matter of finding the right thing. Because, I mean, Curse of Strahd, it is one hell of a thing for, first of all, a first-time DM, but also just first-time players in general. That's a lot to jump into, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we made it past the entrance hall, if I'm being honest. But thank you. That is really encouraging, and I'll definitely keep thinking about it, because I do love world creation, and I've always loved improv, and especially like long form improv. And when I was in college, my friends and I developed a couple of like original long form forms, and so my mind is very interested in that kind of stuff.
Cool.
So yeah, I'll definitely think about it.
Yeah, I'd love to be a player.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing the day that happens. Yeah.
Oh, I thought of something else that I wanted to say about Fen when we were going back and forth. It's been really fun to play in Eladrin, because it almost feels like the seasonal changes, I've been really trying to like take them into account with role playing, because they have such different flavors, and it's almost like I get to play 4 characters in one at different points. Because like when I first joined the campaign and I was in winter, I was like very cautious, like wanting to conserve my resources, etc. And then having the seasonal shifts have sort of like allowed me to like play someone who's like a little bit more warm and like thoughtful towards other people, and it's been really fun to sort of like take those different things as like suggestions and like emotional anchors.
Absolutely.
You know?
That was the first thing I picked up on as well, looking at the Eladrin race. I think that's something that's really interesting about them.
Yeah. That's it.
really
It's just cool.
There.
No,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
for Smiler, going back to the sort of compassion and patience you were talking about with Smiler, and it being a conscious effort, he's been in his spring form for a ridiculous amount of time, and that again is something that he's decided to do, which is interesting. And we could go further into that, but yeah, just like you said, it has a very fun implication, and for game mechanics too, it's a fun little thing to do and switch up like strategies and things you can do, like your face step. As a Spring Eladrin, I can choose someone within 5 feet of me instead to teleport, instead of myself. And I think Summer, you can do an unwilling creature and make them teleport away, which is interesting. But so game mechanic wise, it's interesting, but also, yeah, role play. What is the difference between a spring, a winter, summer, and fall Eladrin, and what are the ways that you can like really lean into that as an actor?
Yeah, and the way that I love the way that it was described somewhere that I was reading about it, about how some Eladrin will stay in one season for their entire lives.
Yeah.
Sometimes they change seasons with the world around them. And the one that I was really attracted to was they change seasons based on experiencing a really strong emotion. So like sometimes they'll go into their winter state after they become, or their summer state after they become enraged about something, or whatever. So it's kind of been fun to track the seasonal shifts with sort of the like rises and falls of the story arcs of the campaign as well. Yeah, it's just cool. Like you're saying, as an actor, to be able to come at it from an emotional place first.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rich opportunity there.
Absolutely.
Totally.
I don't know, just fun little things, I think, and that's something that I think D&D is really good about, is giving sort of the agency to those that are playing it to pick things that they like and sort of really lean into those, and especially like taking a look at the fluidity of 5th edition, where you can add home rules, or as a player find something and talk to your DM about like, can we flavor it this way, and see how that changes the way that things are done in the game. And I think it's a lot of fun and opens up a lot of opportunity for storytelling.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, anything else, either from chat? I see Mason popping in.
Hey, what's up, Mason?
If you have any questions,
Also,
feel
Mason,
free to
thank
ask.
you for
Or
the sub.
anything that
You are
the two of
awesome,
you-
buddy. I have one.
Oh my gosh,
I do
yeah.
have one for Becca right now. How does it feel to be haunted by an old lady?
Oh my god. It's funny that you ask because it feels amazing. It's so cool, and you had touched on this when you were talking about building out the world and wanting your NPCs to be really three-dimensional and for things to have natural consequences. I know that I've said this before, but I cannot emphasize enough that I have never played in a D&D campaign where I have had to deal with the consequences of my stupid actions before. So this is very it's a little trippy, and it's good. I definitely needed the reality check, because in the moment when I was like, oh, I'm just gonna trick this old witch, nothing bad will happen to me. And now she's coming back. It's funny. It's a mixture of fear, but also a little bit of kind of like indignance from Fen. I can sense, like, well, sorry that you got tricked, but I outsmarted you, so I don't see what the problem is. Basically, like, you said you wanted to make a deal, and we made a deal, and I gave you what I said I'd give you. I just maybe alluded that it was more powerful than it is, but I never said that, really. It's cool. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm terrified for when we come to a head and for what she's going to ask from me, because it's
pretty interesting.
Scary.
I'm glad.
Dang.
I'm glad. It's more fun
And
that
she's
way.
such a fun character. I'm glad that she's not gone.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. As soon as you tricked her, I was like, "This is amazing," and I can't wait because it means I get to play her more. I got so excited. I love having to come up with rhyming couplets off of the top of my head. I love having to do that.
Amazing.
Wow. But Mason did ask, if the whole party were about to fall off a cliff, who would you save, and why is it snow?
Oh man.
Was that a question for Daniel or for me?
For either one.
For everyone.
It's for everyone. What, you go first, Becca. You go first.
So yeah.
Well,
if
the
whole party were to fall, who would you save, and why is it snow?
Who would I save, or who would
Question from
save?
@TheMasonPotato.
Both.
Gotta love it.
Let's do both.
Fen would obviously save Snow for all of the reasons that we've stated. She's adorable, she's perfect, she's charming, she's sweet. Also, she probably has the most life ahead of her of everyone, so like
oh my.
That just seems fair. And then Becca, I would say Fen, obviously, because I want to keep playing them.
Yeah, if the whole party were about to fall off a cliff, I would save Junkie, the rat, because, you know, all the rest of the people have done questionable decisions and have made me as a DM angry and sad, and have undermined my authority. And Junkie's the only one who's innocent, so Junkie lives, everyone else dies.
Wow, Daniel, tell us how you really feel.
The truth is, he just loves to make those little rat noises.
I do love to make the rat noises. No, I don't know. I think, man, I couldn't decide, dude. I would be that person who would, like, when people are falling off a cliff, I would be struck with, like, paralysis, because I'm like, I don't know who to save. I don't know who would judge me for saving them and not do it. And then everyone would die. I'd be like, I didn't make a decision fast enough. I'm that person.
Great.
Yeah.
So, Chidi from The Good Place. Got it.
Yeah. In that case, maybe the answer is Joko, because I feel like everybody else would be so distraught over the loss of life, and Joko would probably be like, thanks, man. Good choice.
You would have no guilt. No guilt in Joko's mind.
Oh my god.
Oh, funny.
That's really funny. Oh, wow. Well, I, for one, am very excited to see where the next couple of sessions take the Grim Troop.
Yeah.
Anything you can share, Daniel, that's like a little bit of a next week on Dragon Ball Z?
Well, next week on Dragon Ball Z, Smiler returns for the Grim Troop to be able to go off of that demon portal. And next time you might see them actually fight something. Tune in next week for all right. Sorry. Promo voice no longer in activation. Yeah, I mean, Smiler's gonna be there. Jared's gonna be there. You'll see his charming smiling face. Or probably not actually, because we don't have cameras on. Yikes. Yeah, I can't say much.
I hear the smile in my charm.
I have foreshadowed enough of what you guys are gonna see, and I'm mostly excited for you guys to be encountering it and fear encountering it, because that's half of the fun. Is the anticipation.
I was gonna say excitement and terrifying,
and a little bit of fear,
well, so.
You know, based on the way that I've described it. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I want to say. I think we should probably save the invitation questions for when Gavin's here, and then do like a full, like an invitation, like stop talking roll. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I would love to do like a special invitation. Exactly.
I think that's great. Gosh, is there anything else that I wanted to? Oh, I think oh man, I feel like I had one for you, Becca, but I can't remember. Oof.
Oh no, and we'll never talk to each other again after
Oh no,
this,
we'll never talk to each other again, so we can never do it. Yeah?
I do have one again for Becca, actually. So you answered this as Fen, but what's been Becca's favorite moment or a pivotal moment for this campaign? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's a good one.
Oh man.
On stream or off?
Yeah.
Animal Crossing.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's all been so fun. Trying to think. I feel like probably the arc in the vampire castle was when I really personally felt like I found my stride with the group. I was really self-conscious when I first joined that I like didn't know what I was doing well enough, especially with the mechanics of my character and stuff, but we have such a good time. We laugh so much. It's hard to pinpoint like my favorite moment. Definitely the rhyming couplets, the Baba Yaga rhyming couplets blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, Daniel's amazing! How's he doing it? Yeah, and I've so enjoyed getting to... Well, it sounds like polished, at least.
Really nice smelling bullshit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've just so enjoyed getting to know everybody in this group, and now I really feel like I am thoroughly a part of it, and it's great. It's a little found family for myself as well, so it's been super fun.
Yeah, that's great. That's really, really good. Yeah. Daniel, did you think of anything? Also, hello, Captain says hello.
Hello. Hey, Kevkoski.
I know who you are.
Yeah. I guess this is a slightly deeper one, I think, and I've kind of been mulling on how to ask it, but it's like because you guys are talking about like Eladrin and kind of like the emotional space that they live in, but I actually kind of saw them for kind of like the queer space that they take up, and I wanted to ask if Becca, you had any thoughts about that, or you wanted to say anything about that. You don't have to, but it was just a thought that I had.
Yeah, I'm interested in. Can you elaborate on your question? And,
I feel like just because Eladrin are the like as described are like the most elfy of the elves. You know, they are like kind of they're non-binary, like they're creators. They very much like define themselves not by how they were assigned at birth, but rather like who they are, and their outward physicality is amazing in that it also reflects that. It will change to suit that, meaning they're like the seasonal changes, their emotions. And I don't know. I was wondering if there was like something like, if anything that like that you kind of saw in that as being like something that you like really love like kind of working with or expressing, or if it's something that you're just kind of like in the background, just glad that it's a part of the world, or whatnot.
Yeah, that's a really great way of thinking about it. I don't think I ever put that together in my mind before, but now that you say it, I'm like, oh my god, no, it totally makes sense. Like they are not binary, and they're not tied down to one type of thing. And I think that really totally relates to queerness and how, you know, gender and presentation and sexuality, it's all fluid and it all exists on a spectrum. And it's so wonderful that these creatures can say, yeah, right now my truth is I am in my winter state and I feel this way and my outer self reflects that. But it can change, and when it does, it's not seen as unnatural, and it doesn't invalidate the other times that they are in their summer form or their spring form or their autumn form or whatever.
No one says actually really your winter form. Nobody says that. They're like, oh yeah, that's true.
Oh, you're in your winter form, so it's actually impossible that you could ever be in your autumn form, and so you're
right.
Ooh, some of my anger at bisexual erasure is jumping out, but no, but yeah, I think it's really beautiful.
Go off, Queen. Go off.
That they can express outwardly how they feel on the inside, and I wish that humans in this world felt more empowered to do that and feel like it's something that could change frequently. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, maybe something we could explore more together.
We have that
for sure.
Chat.
Yes,
Happy Pride, y'all. Happy Pride. We're so happy that you're here. Oh, Zach's here. What's up, buddy? Yeah. I don't know. I've been thinking about it too, because funnily enough, I've been going on forums and stuff about Eladrin, and most people go like, don't fucking play Eladrin because nobody knows what they are. And I was like kind of offended that I'm like, what do you mean by that? There's this, it's, I don't know, if you guys look it up, it's kind of weird. It's most people will like look at Eladrin and it's like, oh, you want to be special or whatever. Like when someone plays an Eladrin or whatever, that's kind of like the general attitude, which is weird as fuck. But
you're just doing it
does
for attention.
Yeah, something like that. But I was looking at the Eladrin and I'm like I don't know, these like seem like the most apt like insert for like queerness in a race like ever. So I don't know how people aren't making that connection and why that isn't being explored, because I feel like that's also baked into the mythology, is that Corellin isn't technically a man. They're non-binary. Even though they use he him pronouns, they're non-binary. So crazy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's if I remember correctly, most of the Elven pantheon, like Sahanin as well,
yes,
is gender fluid.
Correct.
But like you said, I think it comes with the elves and just who they are as a race, which is super interesting to explore for sure.
Yeah, there's some fun connotations there. The connotations being that like the true, you start out in your truest form, and then you, as you age, you like lose touch with that. If you like know Elven, it's really interesting. It's basically like, I don't know if you want to let me nerd out for a bit, but like basically like the elves when they're first created were all like Eladrin, super. They could be like they were super fluid in everything, basically sexuality, gender expression, sex, even. It's like crazy. It's awesome. And then as they went down from there in the ancestral pattern, like elves became more distinctly like binary, male, female, high elf, wood elf, you know, dark elf. Like they started going, that wasn't originally what they were like, but they were more fluid like Eladrin were. But eventually they settled into these one things and now can no longer do anything about it. Really interesting to me, I guess.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome.
I love the fact that the origin of it is so rooted in nature too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's a very natural state to be in, and because I think a lot of, and you know, bringing in some real world things, a lot of like what we know of as like binary gender and sexual expression, a lot of it is based on cultural understanding and social rules that we've really created for ourselves. And so 100%. thinking about like the natural state where they came from and then branching down from that, it very much I think mirrors sort of how we as human beings evolved and grew over time and everything. So I think that's it's interesting.
Absolutely, because gender literally is socially constructed, which is why sex and gender are separate ideas. And when you are born in this world, in this reality and plane of existence, like you don't have an idea of, oh, well, these are the types of things that I'm supposed to like, and this is what I'm supposed to do because I'm a girl or I'm a boy. Like, you just like what you like, and you're trying to explore the rules of the world in general. And it's only after seeing it modeled for you and being told and having all of these ideas put on you that you start to say, okay, this is the box that I've been placed in, and I guess it doesn't feel actively uncomfortable to me, so this is, I guess, what I'm doing. But I love that Eladrin elves were like, this was the original, and they're so connected to the powers of nature and the earth that they allow themselves to be fluid and to change like the seasons change, because nature is not stagnant, and neither are we.
Nor should it be.
Yeah.
100%.
And that feels super gay. You're right, Daniel.
It does.
Happy Pride, y'all. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Awesome. Captain Kotsky has a question with high elf ? Yeah, they're super high, man. They're just constantly just like toking it up.
All the time.
Just constantly.
Talking about nature. Exactly.
Yeah, there's the high elves, and then there's the sober
really
elves.
Tuned to nature.
That's the binary that actually exists. Is the high elves and the sober elves. Yeah.
We don't
it's
talk
a shame,
about the
isn't
drunk
it?
elves. We don't really like to talk about them.
It's a construct, you know.
Talking about grass while smoking it. Yes.
You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong.
That's great. And thank you for the sub on YouTube. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
But no, very, very nice conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was,
I think so.
Yeah,
a
great
fun
question,
thing to
Daniel.
open up. And I think, that's something as well that I think the D&D
I know,
community
yeah.
as a whole is becoming more aware of. And I think it's great that they're starting to bring that to Wizards of the Coast's attention and being a little bit more vocal about it. Because, I mean, fantasy in general, unfortunately, has a lot of roots with homophobia and racism. And it's something that we can talk about. And I think that is a vehicle to talk about. But
Yeah.
I think that bringing it at least to the attention, I think is good, and opening the conversation. And I think that that's something
sure.
that has been happening over the past few years. And I think that Wizards of the Coast, especially with the most recent additions and some revisions to previous adventures, is starting to show that more, which I really appreciate.
Yeah. I think it depends on, I don't know.
Yeah.
You can mold it how you want, I guess. But yeah, fantasy traditionally, very white, very, very straight.
Yeah,
Sorry, Becca, go.
absolutely. Well, and it becomes... Oh, yeah.
No. I'm gonna sort of trail, so please finish your thought, Jared.
I was just going to say, I think that's just because of the roots. It comes from mostly European folklore, and that's it. That's all it is. It just happened to be that's what got very popular in like popular culture was the European folklore and mythologies. But yeah, I think that just being aware of that and working to, I think Daniel's doing a fantastic job with this right now as well, is just folding in the rest of the world and bringing that into fantasy and sort of showing your own personal story through that as well. But what were you going to say?
Me?
I was just gonna say that I love D&D as a space for people to come in and experiment and try on different types of like people and different gender identities like we were talking about earlier, Daniel. I think it's a really fun way because you come in and you are told the first thing is that there's no rules, you can do whatever you want, and it's almost like a safe way to explore different like expressions that exist in your personality that maybe because of all of these boxes that we've accepted that we've been put into, we don't allow ourselves to always like access certain parts of our personalities, and D&D is such a fun playground to do that in a way where it's very low stakes, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Me, I just have like a million different personalities. It's like vying for control over my brain, and so that's why I need to be the DM. Otherwise, they will consume me, like James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Yes.
On that
why
note,
go to therapy when you can DM?
Yeah, why go to therapy when I can just, torture a bunch of friends? Tell a story with a bunch of friends.
Exactly. Totally. But
Yes.
Anything else that at the forefronts of y'all's minds that you want to bring up?
Nah, man. I think we're gonna do this again. So we'll have more then. I do want to talk about an invitation, but I want Gavin to be here. I want Gavin to be here before I talk about Sirius and stuff.
I as well. I would love to open a conversation about that.
But Becca, it has been very, very fun to be like partners in crime together. It's been very enjoyable. I've been having a good time.
Good night, Captain Kazuki. Thank you so much for dropping by.
Thanks. Yeah, this was great. Thanks, Jared, for
Jared, you're killing it.
And it's so fun to have you in the campaign.
Absolutely.
And
I am loving
please
it.
hang out with us forever, never leave.
Well, yeah, you're kind of stuck with me now. Sorry to tell you.
Until I kill you. But continue.
But no, yeah, looking forward to the continuation of not only Stop Talk and Roll, but as Smiler for the next few sessions to help you on your journey with there. Thank you for being here, Becca. I loved it. Please, anytime you're free on a Stop Talk and Roll, please come back. Please.
Yes, I will. So fun.
And enjoy your time while you're here, visiting some family.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's great.
Fun time.
Well, Daniel, I believe you have a quick announcement before we
I do
head
have a
out.
quick announcement. I have a couple. So first up is that we have our Discord open. Also, Z, have a good night. Thanks for being here. But yeah, we have a Discord open now. So if you guys go !Discord, there should be a link that shows up to join the Discord so that you guys can be a part of our community. We've wanted to do this for a little while. We wanted to get to know you guys. We wanted to actually create a little home where people could nerd out, talk about D&D, talk about queerness, whatever, gods in the context of, you know, whatever you guys wanted to do. It's an open space for literally everyone and anyone of all creeds, as long as you all love D&D and love us. So we'd love to have you there. It'd be awesome. So if you guys want to do that, just go !Discord. And the second is that tomorrow we will not be streaming. Sorry. We have a couple people who are out, and so unfortunately we just couldn't get enough of the players in to do a session. Or otherwise it would literally just be like me and like Jared, and that's just a Stop Talk and Roll campaign / a date. Yep. So and as you know, I mean, I'm making it sound like I wouldn't be comfortable with that, but I am comfortable with that. Anyways, but like regardless. But we're not going to be streaming tomorrow.
Moving on.
Moving on. I'm just going to stop talking. We're going to...
When we reach 100 subscribers, Daniel and Jared will live stream their first date. It's going to be great.
Go. Let's go. All right.
It will not be our first.
It will be like maybe the 27th. I don't know.
We have photographic evidence.
We do
of us at Pops.
Sharing a shake.
Sharing a milkshake.
It's adorable. It's like Lady and the Tramp, except like
when we reach 200 subscribers, Daniel and Jared will drink a milkshake.
And we'll post it side by side.
No one clip that. No one clip that. Anyways, so we won't be streaming tomorrow, but instead what we will be doing is we'll be rerunning Smiler, the episode from last week, and then also this Stop Talk and Roll. So you guys can see that if you guys tune in at a normal time of 10 a.m. PDT. But don't you worry, we'll be back next week with a real one. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Daniel and Becca, for joining us today. Thank you all in the chat for being here. Shout out again to the Mason Potato for the sub.
Woo!
And for the questions as well. Thank you, everyone. Z, Zach, for being here. I saw one other name pop up earlier in chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you all so much. This was a blast. I always love being here. Love these conversations in and out of game and in and out of character. And I'm looking forward to see what happens with Smiler and the rest of the Grim Troop when we're here next. So
yeah.
Happy Pride Month, everybody.
Woo!
Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.